South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. The monsoon remains active this morning as rather widespread cloud cover continues to cover much of the region, with a few light showers around as well. However, our wind flow aloft is starting to turn more out of the south-southwest, and that's going to start pushing this moisture eastward over the next couple of days. Despite the active monsoon pattern, our lightning counts have not been impressive. Here's a look at yesterday's map, which featured only a little over 100 strikes, mostly associated with very wet thunderstorm activity across the high terrain of the central and eastern Sierra. We will likely be improving on that count today, and potentially in a pretty big way, as today has the best overlap of moisture and lift both from the terrain and from a monsoonal wave over the desert southwest. However, today's activity will likely be almost exclusively confined to the eastern Sierra region, Mono and northern Inyo counties. In those areas, widespread thunderstorms with likely several hundred, if not thousands, of lightning strikes are likely this afternoon and evening. But the rest of the region will be almost entirely uneventful. Across the eastern Sierra, heavy rainfall and flash flooding will be significant concerns today and tonight, and flood watches are in effect for that area. Otherwise, after another warm night last night, temperatures will remain warm today, but again still only seasonably warm as the cloud cover and all of that humidity in the air makes it difficult to warm the air up during the day in the same way that it makes it difficult to cool it down at night. So valley highs will be mainly capped in the 90s to near 100 in the San Joaquin Valley. And humidity will remain pretty elevated today, with minimums mainly in the 15 to 30% range. Tonight we'll also likely see very good recoveries across much of the region, even some of the areas that have been drier in recent nights. There are changes ahead, however, as the area of high pressure that's been well off to our northeast for the past week or so is going to reorganize and recenter itself over the desert southwest later this week. The high pressure will strengthen as it does so, with a strong desert southwest high becoming established by the end of this week and into next week. Temperatures will steadily warm through Thursday, then remain around 5 to 10 degrees above normal through early next week. This will bring highs into the 80s to low 90s across the lower mountains, upper 90s to 108 in the valleys, 104 to 112 in the high desert, and 108 to 118 in the low desert. This is a look at Friday's forecast highs. And humidity will be on a lowering trend as well, albeit a gradual one. Minimum humidity will lower towards the 12 to 25% range by Thursday, and more towards the upper single digits and teens away from the coast by Friday and into early next week. Areas of poor recoveries will also start to become more prevalent late this week as thermal belts strengthen, though again we are expecting mostly good recoveries for the next couple of nights. In terms of winds, local and terrain-driven winds will generally dominate the next several days, with no critical wind events expected. However, areas of breezy conditions are still likely, especially in the afternoons and evenings. And finally, with the upper-level flow becoming less favorable for monsoon moisture, thunderstorm activity will become quite limited for the next several days after today. We probably won't entirely scour out all the moisture, and we'll still have some instability around with the hot weather. But any activity looks to become isolated and confined to the mountains and deserts south and east of I-15 in SoCal, and along and east of the Sierra Crest in central California. There are mixed signals on whether another monsoon push may develop towards the middle of next week, with plenty of time to watch that. Dead fuel moistures will mostly be on slow falling trends this week. And take a look at our region-wide ERC chart with individual RAWs and PSA charts available on our website. And this should stand out to you, especially that green forecast trace for the next 7 days. After spending essentially the entire fire season so far at or below normal ERC, we expect ERC to trend above normal and to approach the 97th percentile in several PSAs by this weekend and early next week. With live fuel moistures also gradually declining, flammability is on an upward trend across the region, outside of the limited areas that have received beneficial moisture. Wrapping things up, the elevated humidities and cloud cover will limit fire potential today and to some extent into Wednesday as well, though a larger fire could still occur on a well-aligned start as we saw with the rock fire yesterday. But fire potential will increase with the upcoming warming trend, with large fire potential likely becoming elevated later this week and into at least early next week. While critical conditions are not expected, the hot temperatures, increasingly long burn periods, and more flammable fuels will bring potential for significant fire growth, and I would expect things to get pretty busy across the region over the next week or so. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. Next one will be on Wednesday, July 22nd.